I lost my family because of a lie my brother told. It's been 5 years, and the wound feels as fresh as if it were yesterday, a phantom limb of a life I was supposed to have. My name is Alex, and I was 20 years old when my world was systematically dismantled by the people I trusted most. It all started during a weekend trip to our family's lake house, a place that had always been my sanctuary, a repository of happy childhood memories of swimming, bonfires, and stargazing with my parents and my younger brother, Kyle. Kyle was 17 at the time, and we'd had the typical sibling rivalry growing up, but I always thought we were close. He looked up to me, or so I believed. I taught him how to ride a bike, how to throw a spiral with a football, and I'd even covered for him a few times when he'd broken our parents' curfew. That weekend at the lake was supposed to be a final hurrah before I went back for my junior year of college. The air was crisp with the coming autumn, and the lake had that deep, cold blue look to it. We were all together, Mom, Dad, Kyle, and me. The first night, we had a big dinner, and Dad and I stayed up late talking about my major, political science, and my plans for law school. He was so proud. Mom kept smiling at me, that warm, unconditional love shining in her eyes. Kyle was a bit quiet, but I didn't think much of it. He was a teenager, prone to moods. The next morning, I woke up early and decided to go for a run on the trails behind the house. I remember feeling so content, so secure in my place in this family. When I got back, sweating and out of breath, I headed straight for the shower. The lake house had 2 bathrooms, but the one downstairs, the bigger one with the best water pressure, was the one everyone preferred. The door was slightly ajar, and I called out, "Hello? Anyone in there?" I heard a faint rustling, but no answer. Assuming it was just the old house settling or the wind from an open window, I pushed the door open. Kyle was there, but he wasn't showering. He was standing by the sink, and he had one of my mom's antique silver jewelry boxes in his hands. It was a family heirloom, and inside it, she kept a few pieces of real jewelry her own mother had left her, along with some cash for emergencies. He was holding a wad of cash. We both froze. His eyes widened in panic, and then, in a flash, they narrowed with a calculation I didn't recognize. "Alex, I can explain," he stammered, shoving the money into his pocket. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice low with disbelief. "Kyle, that's Mom's emergency money. I know, I needed it for something. Don't tell them, please. I'll pay it back, I swear." He looked desperate, guilty. I felt a surge of anger, but it was mixed with pity. He was my kid brother. "Kyle, you can't just steal from Mom and Dad. You have to put it back. Right now." I stepped further into the bathroom, my hand outstretched. "Give me the money. I'll put it back, and we'll forget this happened. But you can't do this again." That's when everything shifted. He didn't hand me the money. Instead, he shoved the jewelry box into my hands, his face transforming from panic to a mask of sheer terror. "Get away from me," he screamed, so loud it felt like the walls shook. He then bolted past me, out the bathroom door, and ran straight into the living room where our parents were drinking coffee. I stood there, holding the stupid, heavy silver box, completely bewildered. I could hear him sobbing, his words coming out in hysterical gasps. "He made me do it. Alex told me to take the money and the jewelry. He said he needed it for a debt. He threatened me." I walked out of the bathroom, my legs feeling like lead. My parents were staring at me, their faces a horrifying canvas of confusion and dawning horror. My mom's hand was over her mouth. "It's not true," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "I caught him stealing. He had the cash in his hand." "Liar!" Kyle shrieked, tears streaming down his face. He was putting on an Oscar-worthy performance. "He's been pressuring me for weeks. He said if I didn't help him, he'd tell you about the weed I smoked last summer. He said he owed people money from gambling." The gambling accusation was a masterstroke. I'd gone to a casino with friends for a 21st birthday a few months prior, and I'd lost about $200, which I'd casually mentioned at dinner once. My dad had given me a small lecture about responsibility. Now, that anecdote was being weaponized. My dad stood up, his face like granite. "Is this true, Alex?" "No, of course it's not true." I walked in on him. He was stealing. I was trying to get him to put it back. I looked at my mom, pleading with my eyes. "Mom, you know I wouldn't do this." But the seed of doubt had been planted, and Kyle was watering it with his torrent of fake tears. He was the younger one, the good son, the one who supposedly never got into trouble. I was the one who'd pushed boundaries in high school, the one who'd had the occasional party when they were out of town. My past minor transgressions were suddenly being reframed as a pattern of criminal behavior. The rest of the weekend was a Cold War. The drive home was silent, a thick, suffocating tension filling the car. I tried to talk to them, to reason, but they were too upset to discuss it. They said they needed to process. I went back to my apartment near campus, hoping it would blow over. But it didn't. A week later, the call came. It was my dad. His voice was cold, formal, like he was addressing a stranger. "Your mother and I have spoken with Kyle extensively. We've also noticed some discrepancies in our accounts over the past few months. Small amounts, but they add up. We believe Kyle's story. We think you have a problem, Alex, and until you admit it and get help, we cannot have you in our lives." I felt the floor drop out from under me. Discrepancies? What discrepancies? "Dad, I didn't take any money. Kyle is lying. Why would you believe him over me?" "Because he has no reason to lie about something like this," my dad shouted, his composure breaking. "And you do. You're our son, and we love you, but we will not enable this kind of behavior. Consider yourself cut off. The tuition payment for this semester is the last one. You're on your own." The phone went dead. I sat on the floor of my apartment, the receiver still in my hand, listening to the dial tone as if it were a requiem for my old life. The next few months were a blur of devastation. My friends tried to be supportive, but they didn't really understand how a family could just discard one of its own. I was drowning in shame and a profound sense of injustice. I had to drop out of college. I lost my apartment. I moved into a shared house with 3 other guys I found online, and I got a job as a line cook, a job that paid barely enough to cover my rent and food. I tried reaching out to my aunts, uncles, my grandparents. They had all heard the story. I was the gambling addict who had coerced his little brother in a theft. They were disappointed and praying for me. Nobody wanted to hear my side. The wall of silence was absolute. The worst part was the self-doubt. In my darkest moments, lying awake on a thin mattress on a dirty floor, I would wonder if I had somehow, in some way I couldn't remember, done something to deserve this. Had I been a bad brother? Had I been selfish? When everyone you love tells you you're a monster, you start to check for scales in the mirror. Therapy was my lifeline. It took me a year to scrape together the money to go, but it saved me. My therapist helped me see that I was the victim of a profound betrayal, that my feelings of anger and grief were valid. She helped me rebuild my sense of self from the ground up. I wasn't Alex, the disowned son. I was Alex, the survivor. I worked my way up from line cook to sous chef. I started taking night classes at a community college. I met a woman named Sarah in one of those classes. She was smart, kind, and fiercely independent. It took me 6 months to tell her my story, terrified she would see me the way my family did. She listened, held my hand, and said, "I believe you." 3 simple words that felt more powerful than any family bond I'd ever known. We built a life together. After 5 years of struggle, I finally finished my degree. I got a job in project management. Sarah and I moved in together, and we were talking about the future, marriage, maybe kids. The ghost of my family still haunted me, but it was a quieter presence, a dull ache rather than a gaping wound. I had accepted that they were gone forever. Then, 3 weeks ago, my phone rang. It was a number I hadn't seen in half a decade, but I recognized it instantly. My mother. My heart hammered against my ribs. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. Finally, a text came through. "Alex, please. It's urgent. We need to talk. Kyle has something to tell you." A cold dread settled in my stomach. Was he sick? Was he in trouble? Despite everything, a stupid, ingrained sense of protectiveness flickered inside me. Against my better judgment, I called her back. Her voice was thick with tears. "Alex? Oh, Alex, baby. I'm so sorry. We're all so sorry. What's going on, Mom?" I asked, my voice flat. "It was all a lie," she sobbed. "Everything. Kyle confessed. He made it all up." I was silent. The words were what I had waited 5 years to hear, but now that they were here, they felt hollow, meaningless. "Apparently," she continued, "he was deep in debt himself. He'd gotten involved with some online gambling site and had lost thousands. He'd been taking small amounts of money from us for months to cover it. When you caught him, he panicked. He thought if he blamed you, we'd be so focused on your problem that we'd never suspect him. He never thought we'd cut you off completely. He thought we'd just be mad for a little while." I listened, my knuckles white as I gripped the phone. He never thought. He panicked. These feeble excuses for 5 years of hell. "And the discrepancies in your accounts?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "Those were him," she admitted, her voice small. "He admitted to all of it. He's been in therapy for his gambling addiction, and he finally broke down and told his therapist the truth. The therapist made him call us. We were wrong, Alex. We were so wrong. Please, can we see you? Can we make this right? We want to pay for your education, for everything we missed." I felt a numbness spreading through me. Where was this clarity 5 years ago when I was begging them to listen? Where was this desire to make it right when I was sleeping on a stranger's couch and eating ramen noodles for dinner every night? I told her I needed time to think. The floodgates opened after that. Texts from my dad, emails from my aunts, all saying how sorry they were, how they missed me, how the family wasn't complete without me. They wanted a big, tearful reunion. They wanted to wipe the slate clean. They wanted to pretend the last 5 years of radio silence and character assassination had never happened. Sarah was my rock. She said, "You don't owe them anything. But if you want to see them, I'll be right there with you." I loved her for that. But the anger was a live wire inside me. The more they pushed for a quick reconciliation, the angrier I became. I demanded to speak to Kyle directly. It took a week for him to muster the courage to call. His voice was shaky. "Alex, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Start with the truth, Kyle. The whole truth." He spilled it all, the story matching my mother's, but with more pathetic details. The desperation, the lies piling up, the shock when our parents actually disowned me. And then the part that made my blood run cold. "After a year," he said, sniffling, "I wanted to tell them. I felt so guilty. But Mom and Dad were so angry still. They'd say things like, 'Can you believe what Alex did?' And 'We're so glad we have you, Kyle.' I felt trapped. I thought if I told the truth then, after all that time, they'd hate me more than they hated you. They'd never forgive me." So, he had chosen his own comfort over my life. For 4 additional years, he had watched me remain in exile and said nothing, basking in the role of the loyal son. "And you never thought for 1 second about what that was doing to me?" I asked, my voice trembling with a rage I'd kept bottled for years. "I did. I swear I did. It was torture. Not as much torture as having no family, Kyle," I said coldly. "Not as much torture as having everyone you've ever loved think you're a thief and a liar." He had no answer for that, just more tears. I ended the call feeling emptier than before. The truth hadn't set me free. It had just confirmed how disposable I had been to all of them. After much deliberation, I agreed to a meeting, but on my terms. A neutral location, a quiet restaurant, not the family home. Sarah came with me. Walking in and seeing them all sitting there, my parents looking older, my aunt and Kyle, pale and shrunken, was surreal. It was like looking at ghosts. We sat down. The silence was heavy. I didn't wait for them to start. "I'm here," I said. "But this isn't a reunion. This is a reckoning. I want to understand how you could do it. Not just you, Kyle. All of you." My mom started crying immediately. "We were fools, Alex. We were blind." "You weren't blind," I corrected her. "You chose to see what was easiest." Believing Kyle, the good son, was easier than confronting the messy reality that he might be a thief and a liar. Throwing me away was easier than doing the hard work of finding out the truth. My dad cleared his throat. "We thought we were protecting him." "From what?" I shot back. "From the consequences of his own actions. And in doing so, you threw me to the wolves. You destroyed my life to protect his reputation." Kyle kept his head down, muttering, I'm sorry. "Your apology is noted," I said, my voice devoid of warmth. "But it doesn't change the past. It doesn't give me back the graduation you missed, the birthdays I spent alone, the years of therapy I needed to recover from the betrayal of my own family." My aunt tried to interject. "Alex, families forgive. That's what love is. Love is also loyalty," I said, looking directly at my parents. "Love is giving your child the benefit of the doubt. Love is not abandoning them at the first sign of trouble. You showed me what your love was worth 5 years ago. It was conditional. It was fragile. It broke under the weight of a teenager's lie." I turned to Kyle. "And you? You asked me on the phone what you could do to make amends. The answer is nothing. There is nothing you can do. You have to live with what you did, the same way I had to live with it. The difference is I was innocent. You are not." I stood up, Sarah rising beside me and taking my hand. The finality of the gesture made my parents flinch. "We're leaving," I said. "I appreciate you finally telling the truth. But the family you're trying to welcome back? He died 5 years ago. I built a new family. I have a life, a partner who trusts me, and a future that doesn't include any of you. I don't hate you, but I cannot trust you. And without trust, there is no relationship." My mom started to sob uncontrollably. "Please, Alex, don't go. We're your family." I looked at them one last time. The weeping mother, the stoic father with tears in his eyes, the ashamed brother, the chastised aunt. "No," I said quietly, but with the conviction that came from 5 years of survival. "You're not." And as we walked out of the restaurant into the cool evening air, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders that I had been carrying for half a decade. It was over. The limbo was finished. The door was closed, not with a slam, but with a quiet, irrevocable click. I had my answer. I had my closure. And I was finally completely free.